Hello class and welcome to today's lecture. This lecture we're going to talk about person-job fit and the job characteristics model. So let's get started. Whenever HR or a hiring manager are working together to design a job, it's important that they have to think about what we call the tasks, duties, and responsibilities associated with that job, and make sure that the job is designed in such a way that it's explained that this is the responsibilities that the person has to do, the employee has to do. These are the tasks the employee has to do. And here's the knowledge that we're expecting the employee to have, and that is all written out and surrounded around the specific functions of the job. Okay, this is important for a number of reasons, including legal and defense against discrimination or any type of bias in hiring or etc. The next important thing to do is that you have to identify the employee that's the best fit for that job. And this is where you get into marketing the job, conducting interviews, reviewing resumes, and really trying to match the person to the job. Well, we refer to this as matching the KSAs of the employee or the potential employee, knowledge, skills, and abilities, and matching that with the TDRs of the job, the tasks, duties, and responsibilities. When you have a match that fits, we have what you call, an excellent fit for person job or person job fit. That whole theory of person job fit is focused on the idea of matching a person's KSAs to a job's TDRs. When you have a person who fits a job well, you'll tend to see increases in work performance, also increases in job satisfaction, and increases in mental health, the physical well-being of the employee. You also see reductions in stress and a whole lot of reductions in employee turnover, reductions in absenteeism, tardiness, and those kind of things. Bottom line is that when you have the right person in the right job, everybody is happier. The organization is happier, more profitable, more successful. The employee is happier, has a better career, and does better in the job. So it's very important. In this slide, we're discussing the job characteristics model. Specifically, this model refers to 5 characteristics of a job that managers or organizations have complete control over, and how you could structure those within a job to increase some of the outcomes, for the organization, such as improved performance or motivation or job satisfaction. Now, over here, these are the 5 attributes that can be used by organizations as they're structuring a job. Skill variety, task identity, task significance, kind of all get grouped into one category, which represents meaningfulness and experience for the employee. So this is the psychological state that these attributes affect. Next, you have job autonomy. This affects, in terms of the employee, their sense of responsibility. So, for example, the more autonomy, the more ability for an employee that they have to make decisions, to determine what their responsibilities are and how they're going to get that done, the greater the sense of responsibility they feel towards the job and towards the work. And then the last one we have here is feedback. Feedback refers to receiving constructive information about your job and about your performance so that you can improve your performance, so that the employee can identify things that are incorrect or that can be improved upon and make those changes. Ideally, the sooner the better. You don't want your feedback to be something that's given 6 months after an error has been made. You really want feedback to be quick and timely and useful. Now, the more feedback an employee has, the better knowledge, the more knowledge they have of their results. And that means that they can make decisions to maximize performance. So when you look across all these 5 characteristics, which is what we call the job characteristics, you'll see they affect the employee in these 3 psychological states. And the net result is, if they're properly executed, increased motivation, performance, and satisfaction, which are all positive attributes. I want to take a quick moment to talk about the 3 attributes here that affect meaningfulness. So one is skill variety. This refers to the variety of skills that a person has to do on the job. The idea here is that if a person only has to do one thing over and over and over again, it's very repetitive, people become bored and the job seems less meaningful. Therefore, they put forth less effort, they don't have as much psychological investment in the job, and the result is decreased motivation, decreased performance, and satisfaction. So you want to have jobs or design your job so that it requires an employee to use a variety of skills. So they're doing more than just one skill. Next is task identity. This refers to how much a person identifies the job as being their responsibility, or that the results are something that fall back on them. The higher their sense of identity, the higher they tend to associate themselves with the job, the greater, the more meaningful the job is. So take, for example, a nurse versus a doctor. The doctor is the one actually operating on the person, doing, a lot of the, supposedly a lot of the more difficult, more challenging work, but a person really truly identifies with that profession. I'm a doctor. So they establish greater, more meaningfulness out of that job. Now take a person as a file clerk. They say they work for the same hospital, but a file clerk doesn't necessarily identify with the job that much. He says, well, so what do you do? Oh, well, I work at a hospital. I do filing work. Not I'm a doctor, or I'm a nurse, where you have a sense of high task identity or high, with the job. This also refers to specific tasks and actions that are done on the job in terms of, is a person solely responsible for completing that action? And if so, people tend to have greater sense of meaningfulness. The last we have is task significance. This refers to how important the action is. The more important the employee deems the action to be, the more meaningful the action is. The scenario here would be a doctor who's actually doing open heart surgery as opposed to the nurse who is handing him or the doctor the tools. So the doctor, obviously, because they're doing the operation, has a higher sense of task significance. So if the person lives or dies, it's on the doctor. And they take that as being, they have more meaningfulness in the job, and they engage in the job more so. Whereas the task significance of the person may be handing the doctor the tools, because they're not actually doing the operation, they may view their role as being less significant and thereby have less, psychological engagement into the actual job or the operation in this case. This explains the job characteristics model. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me them, or give a call during office hours. I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much and have a good day.